Hello again, everyone. Oh, wow. Can't believe how hot it is still. It's amazing. Right, Ed tells me he'll be 15 minutes or so. I have invited Ed. I've invited Pylads or John Pellick, who is here with me. That's good.
Hey.
Right. As usual, again, if you'd like to participate, just say so in the chat and I'll leave a link.
Hello.
Right. Tester says, implying hot. Lad, it's 90 degrees here. Well, that's not my problem. It's warm in England. For England, it's fucking hot, and I'm not used to it. Are you in a corner? What do you mean in a corner? In a corner of a room in a house? Yes, of course I am.
You're a stamp.
Ah, shit! I've been found out.
Ooh, what's that drink you got there?
No, it's just more water. Just
Sorry
water.
for
It's a
this
fucking
gross.
blue glass. It's a blue glass. It's not, WKD or anything.
It's not blue drink.
No, we don't. We don't have that ghetto shit here in the English countryside. It's just far
Don't
too
you have?
quaint.
Was it Tesco? Is Tesco your bad grocer?
No. We have loads of them. Sainsbury's, Tesco, Aldi, Marks and Spencers, Co-op, Premier, Morrison's, all these different shops. It's amazing, and that's
What's
just
your
like half of them.
what's your worst one?
It depends. Most Sainsbury's are quite ordinary and nice, but in the poor areas they're shit. Co-op is kind of cheap. Aldi is like quantity over quality. But it's not. It's a supermarket. It's not. Um, where crackheads go and buy their alcohol. Uh, Wilkie's is kind of that corner shops, but
Gosh, you have so many
I know
different
we have.
shops.
Yeah, that's the free market, boy.
They weren't lying when they said it's an island of shopkeepers.
Yeah, well, yeah, we have all these different. I mean, I can't even list all the different trades, which all the trade companies which are near me, all the different fencing companies, tree management, outdoors stuff, plumbing, electrics, mechanics, all the different garages. Come to think of it, there are like 5 different garages, different companies within like a mile radius of me, all different. It's just English, very English. You have all these different interconnecting families and their businesses, and it's all very local.
It's the thing that really triggered me the other day. Is I live in New Jersey, which is obviously named after a place in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And most of the towns in my area of New Jersey all used to have like British names or Germanic names, and the like liberals actually got them all to be renamed after Native American tribes.
Oh, fuck off.
So I didn't know. I mean, and it was not like liberal. I mean, it was like Quakers and stuff. Like it was, the original liberals.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a shame in a way.
I forgot what the name of my town used to be. It was something extremely. It was like someone's. It was like, damn, I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like a guy's last name.
Yeah. I don't know if you're moving away from the mic to and fro. Your volume is
can you
fluctuating.
hear me better?
Yeah, your volume is just fluctuating a little bit.
Oh, I see what's happening. For some reason, Hangouts is not accepting my plug-in microphone.
All right, you can change that if you go into the settings, I think.
I have a little boy computer. I just have a tablet. I don't have a.
You have a tablet.
Yeah.
You need to get a big boy computer. You need to get a PC. Get mommy to buy you a PC.
Yeah. Didn't Ed have a smart TV only for something?
Yeah, he had like a smart TV with like a Linux program you'd use. Ed's technological situation is no, I can't even. No, it's something. It's like almost mystical in its complexity. You can't look at it with like rational glasses. You have to put on your kind of esoteric cap and dissect it with like religious language. It's just that bizarre. I don't even know.
He kind of uses divine energy.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm sorry about my voice. I don't know what's going on today.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
So
Cater again, bringing the interesting greetings. He says, "Greetings and salutations, fellow carbon-based life forms," implying materialism. Fucking pleb, get out of here. Pardon me. Esoteric,
sorry.
but you go on.
I thought I would be more energetic, but like all of a sudden I'm
you low energy today.
No, I got to save some energy because I'm going to be manic with Ed, which will be good.
Oh yeah, you're going over to his place.
Yeah,
he's telling me he's been tidying up all morning, just waiting for you.
Yeah. Well, you better impress me.
Yeah, you gotta give good impressions, or you'll be telling everyone, what shit hole his house is.
Should I wear my hair in a ponytail or should I wear it down?
Oh, go in a ponytail. Be all like get like glasses as well, and be like, oh yes, hello.
Should I wear a long sleeves and pants and brave the hot weather, or would that be too?
Nah, you need to be formal but relaxed.
Formal. Can this just be a stream of you guys helping me pick my wardrobe?
I can't fucking help you. I'm shit with fashion. I just wear the fancy shirts. I don't know anything.
You do have a good selection of shirts.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is this what you wanted, a goofy hangout?
Yeah, it's just informal, mate. It's just whatever. It's good to kind of mix like heavy to genuine discussion with a relaxed tone.
Mm-hmm. Like what I'm supposed to wear today.
Yeah, yes. It's serious, but so is anyone watching right now who's going to come to this talk I'm doing on Tuesday? If you're going to, please don't bully me, okay?
That's coming so soon.
I know, it's fucking scary.
You shouldn't be scared.
I'm not really. I'm not worried.
You have a good voice. You have a good presence.
I don't think I do. I don't think I do have a good voice. I think I have a very mediocre voice.
You have a better voice.
I have a tendency to mumble like an autist. So.
Well, yeah, but the mumbling is psychological.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I have trained myself out of most of it. Like I used to slouch and hunch over when I walked, and that actually give me back problems. But my shoulders are actually where they should be, not like this. So it's bad habits. But yeah, I'm sure it will be fine. I'm not worried about it really. Once I get a sense for the room and how I can destroy it, and then be fine.
Yeah.
Plus, metaphorically, of course.
You need to go for a crowd surf after.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Again, like I've told everyone, I will be recording it. I'll be bringing Mummy's camera or my camera. My fucking camera is great. It's good over Christmas, but the memory card doesn't fucking work, and I've yet to get a new memory card because the memory card that came with it, for some fucking bizarre reason, was a micro SD card put into an SD adapter. So that's the actual memory card. And that's the fucking adapter which goes into the camera. But it doesn't work. Something's wrong with it. And I've yet to... Also, maybe I should get a camera with a stand. All these questions.
Do you know anyone who's going there for sure who can film you?
Oh, no. I don't think I know anyone who's going there that I know or I'm aware of very well. People who watch me on YouTube and I see them comment, but no one who actually... no, to some degree. My friend Alex, he was going to try to, but his work wouldn't let him. There was another guy, but it's just... Is that a Game Boy? No, it's a fucking camera. It's durable. It's durable. I got it when I was really back into mountain biking. So if I fall off, I wouldn't smash it open. It's durable.
What happened to your passion for mountain biking?
Oh, it's still there. My bike's just too small for me. I've grown since the start of this year. My bike's too small for me, so I can't really go out and on it. Also, I abused it quite significantly, and I bent the internal crank, and the gears are all fucked because I would just abuse it quite
I had a
significantly.
similar problem. I'm not into mountain biking, but I used to be very into biking, and I've totally my bike I have is totally fucked.
Yeah. I mean, I like going out, into the country biking, but it's just I need. Also, that bike I have is like £100 Chinese piece of shit. So it's like made of tin. So, so, so me bombing it down like a slippery, muddy uh, countryside path at 20, 30 mile an hour. Well, not fucking that fast, but good heavens, it's about 20 mile an hour or so. It's like it's not built for that, and I've fallen off a couple of times. Um, but I need a new bike. They're not fucking cheap. So, and someone asks, "Where's Ed?" He is somewhere. He told me he'd be 10 minutes. So,
are you gonna wear a rune or what did Bowden wear? He wore that necklace.
rune talisman.
Are you gonna
I'm not
wear
gonna
one?
wear it. I don't wear anything like that. No. I will likely. I'm just gonna wear a normal button shirt with a jacket and probably my nice jeans. And that's gonna piss James off because I'm gonna wear jeans, not trousers. But I have to be. It's not that formal. It's gonna be casual, but
It's communist formal.
jeans, communist, eh? What?
No, they're all like they try to look like proletariat for $300.
Oh yeah. Well, thing is, I am fucking proletarian, and these jeans were like £7, mate. So they were £7. I have like jeans which were like 30p. Well, that's probably what they're worth, but nah, it'll be fine.
It sounds good.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, it'll be legendary, and they'll storm the stage, and you'll fight them off.
I don't want to hype it up too much. It's probably not going to be that amazing. I mean, it does depend on the crowd. Well, no.
A hype man.
It's not anything like that. Good fucking grief.
You can make it that.
No, I wouldn't want to. American fucking trash. No.
I'm not really American trash.
Oh, come on.
The Northeast isn't America.
The Northeast isn't America. New York. New
It's
Jersey.
older.
Not American. I suppose it is older. It's on the West Coast, I suppose.
The middle of the country is America.
Right.
That's what you think of. Have you ever listened to Manifest Destiny podcast?
Yes. Yeah, I have, yeah.
I think they're very good.
Yeah, they're kind of more white nationalists than I am, but yeah, those guys are good. They have mentioned me before a while back. It was a while back, but yeah, I don't listen to many podcasts, but I will occasionally go and listen to something. And from what I have heard of those guys, it's good.
They proposed a kind of American identity on one of their recent shows. This concept of like they called it Amerikaner, of
Right.
like of a kind of unforgiving American white identity, which I think is a very interesting proposition. I think the white nationalist thing is probably more legitimate.
You would have to throw aside the Constitution to do that, though.
Sure, but I think there is a certain kind of contradictory thread in American history and politics that is against the Constitution.
Yeah, well, if you can latch upon that and exploit it, then good. But I don't think it's going to catch on, at least not anytime soon. Because the ethos of America is fundamentally revolutionary. It is fundamentally modern. It is fundamentally post-French Enlightenment. The very essence, the very core of the civilization is egalitarian. It's in the fucking Constitution. All men are born equal and are endowed with rights, human rights and equality. That's leftism.
It's
So you would have to rip that out and replace it with something else.
it's interesting. I do. I really like the idea, which I think I feel that the left requires resentment, and resentment as ideological fuel
Yeah.
is like fossil fuel, and they've come to the like you have peak oil in reality, like they have hit peak oil in their
Mm.
ideology. Everything has become so flattened out and to its end, and now they're on the decline. They're running out of their ideological fuel, and we're kind of run on sun. And I think that there is I don't know. What do you think of the whole Pan-Europeanism? I know it's very well. I think you were against it, right? But
Yeah, yeah. I'm not against it in any particular principle, but I'm mostly against it just because it's fucking retarded and it's never going to work. There have only been two forces in all of Europe's history which have actually united Europeans: the Roman Empire, which excluded most of Germania and the North, and Christendom, which is a religious identity. The trouble with pan-European nationalists, as it were, is they want to basically deify race, a la Richard Spencer's philosophy. They want to hold race as some sort of high ideal, and it just isn't possible
hmm.
because race
Well,
itself is a temporal construct, and you have to unite Europeans and in all their differences, you have to place the unifier outside of the world, either in the idea of imperium manifest through Pontifex Maximus, or the idea of Christ and of God. Anything else won't do it because you have too many differences on Earth as it is.
I think there's some argument to poetry as a unity in Europe, or art to a certain extent as
Well,
another.
that's only because art traditionally represented beauty, and beauty is divinity. But you won't do it with the modern lens. You can't. It's just impossible because you'll end up with the Sovietism. You'll end up with an imperium trying to divorce itself from the idea of God or of the very idea of transcendence, and that's what unified Europe historically, and will do it again. Anything else isn't enough. It's you're playing with modernity, trying to beat modernity with modernity. It's not going to work. Anyway, why would you want to unify all of Europe? There isn't any infighting really in Europe anyway. There are rivalries and disagreements, but with Europe as it is right now, as an entity, its biggest problem isn't European infighting. Its biggest problem is moral syphilis and liberalism.
Well, the reason I think of it, which I guess is a almost pseudo prophetic kind of process or belief, is I think I see modernity as a period of like extreme weakening of all people individually and as a whole. This is a bit of an anecdote, but I was walking yesterday and I saw a woman with a small sniffling dog who was, totally shaken with fear at another person's presence, my own. And I was thinking, we have these wolves that came and ate the garbage of the cities and became tame. And then you can almost, I feel like, track the weakness of the individual with the weakness of their own pet. But I think in this time of modernity, right, that we're all reaching this like extreme moral, mental, physical weakness. But I think there will be people, there are very few people who will be strong as they ever were in all of history, and will be the changers of this time. But I think there's not a large enough quantity of these type of people, and I think there will be more of a similarity between people of good blood uh, in this kind of higher minority than there will be of any sort of shade in between. And I think an exceptionalism of kind of your genealogy to these people will matter more than their own European identity to a certain extent. But obviously there's a lot of possibilities, but that's my gut feeling.
Or you think that Europeans will unite because of, upon genetics rather than anything else, and naturally, instinctively?
But I don't think it'll be
No.
like a like
You don't think it will be conscious. You think it'll be a subconscious kind of racial identity.
well, it'll just be like I don't see how. Well, maybe it will be, but
No, it's never existed and it never will.
uh,
This is a huge problem racial nationalists have. This whole white identity is a myth. It doesn't exist and it never has done.
no, I
Real
don't
world
think it'll be
politics is more complex.
an identity of whiteness. It'll be identity of kind of aristocratic unity against like ugliness. And I'm
Okay,
not. Yeah,
but that isn't anything. That's something reserved for an elite. That isn't anything to do with your ordinary prole.
yeah. I'm not
Right.
saying that.
Okay, so you would. So we have then in theory,
Yeah.
a new kind of European elite who aren't really globalist as much as they are actually aristocratic. But then, if they have more allegiance to each other than to the countries from which they came, uh, this is why I don't like these sorts of ideas
Sure, but I think you
because
can
they're
kind
so
of have a.
theoretical.
Uh, I don't necessarily think of it in a theoretical way. I think it just when I try to explain it
But
to
where has
someone,
this ever happened historically? Has it ever manifested?
I think it kind of manifested in the South of America, or not like South America, but the antebellum South.
Okay, but did this not have obviously political angles? Didn't this not come around due to the very specific nature of that circumstance in regard to slavery, in regard to the cultural and genetic makeup of the South, and of the story of America specifically? How could you have those results replicated anywhere else?
Um, because yeah, I guess it does sound extremely theoretical, but I think it's because I think there is a possibility for kind of a universalized kind of ethic that is for strength and kind of class that still that will be a response to the universal weakness of all peoples, and that can't come through. I don't think that comes through people of I think what is the in Judaism they say, like, the Jew has like a can reach higher spiritual heights than the goyim or whatever. Like, I think there are certainly I don't know if I believe that there are definitely probably people of genetic or genealogical history that can reach heights higher than other people, and they're going to have to be the drivers of this overcoming. Hello, Adam. It says live. I messaged him on Skype if anyone can hear me. Unfortunately, I can't see if the chat is responding. I did message him on Skype. I think Ed might be.
Oh, did I cut out? Okay. Can you guys still hear me, by the way? Because Buffalo's disappeared. Good grief, what's going on? Okay, I cut out. I can't hear or see anyone. Let me just Right, so it looks like I'm alone, which is bizarre. Oh, if I cut out, where did I cut off from? Oh, it doesn't matter. The point stands. The point stands. If you want to unite Europe, you'll have to unite it under a metaphysical order, like an Imperium, Christendom, whatever.
Hello?
Hello, there you are.
So, did I irritate you, or was it the internet?
No, it's the internet. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
If you irritated me, I would have told you.
If I can just concisely restate what I'm saying, because I was just looking at the chat, because I can't see it when I'm on this. I'm not saying that a European identity won't emerge, but I think the catalyst to it reemerging will be a class unity that has to, in some ways, be genealogically related, has to be related to a family story. I'm not saying, but I'm not saying this is for like the proletariat. I'm not for some sort of kind of class empty white nationalism. But I don't see how your individual European identities at the moment are able to overcome the severe weakness. I don't see that there's enough people of each country of enough strength to overcome with their own individual identities at the same time. I'm not saying that they can't be rediscovered later, because I think that, because if you believe that it'll be lost if in a some sort of a pan-European overcoming, then I think traditionalism, then that kind of says in itself traditionalism isn't as grounded in the people on the land as was first thought. But I think it is, and I think that if you once you bring the temperature of men up, then these individual identities can then be reborn.
You're saying people should be virtuous. Yeah, that's what I've fucking been saying for years. We're not.
I think we're agreeing. I think I was just.
Yeah, we aren't in disagreement. We're just coming
yeah.
at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing else really to say. I mean,
I don't mean it in some sort of like axis of
you saying the
evil.
word class a lot. You saying the word class a lot confuses me, because there already is an elite class. They're just bourgeois.
Sure, but I think they are very. I think I was actually talking to Ed about this. I don't know if you can hear me, Ed.
Ed isn't here. Oh, there he is. Hello.
But I worked in the Upper West Side for a bit and the city, and all of the rich people who lived in these beautiful, $1 million apartments, all of their children are being raised by nannies of the third world. I think
Trinidadian Caribbean nannies.
Fuck's sake. Well, that's nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're talking about that you saying we need a new class of European man, which will then unite you under virtue.
Yeah, and I think with that, it naturally will the individual identities of Europe will reemerge. I don't think. I don't know. But what I was trying to say is that there is a class. I agree there is an elite class, but they are extremely they're extremely annual, like, yeah, and you use the term perennial. Well, they're extremely annual. You know, they're this kind of wider band of families who constantly cut their line from some sort of glorious life by raising them through some of the stupidest means possible. And I think that there is still people of worth and who can be unified through virtue, like you're saying.
But no, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it will happen in individual countries, in individual ways. Europeans have been tribal for fucking 5,000 years. It's not going to stop tomorrow. It took the power of God to unite Europe. Nothing else can do it. It is simply not going to happen. I think anyone who's saying otherwise is a moron and a modernist as well, to be quite honest.
Well, I don't know. I guess I mean unification in a different way. I don't mean a unification.
Yeah, but what do you mean by unification? White racial consciousness doesn't exist.
No, I don't
Political
even mean
political
it as
unification in what sense?
No, I don't mean in that. I mean I think I mean it exactly in the same way that you're saying with individual.
Yeah, just generally people not being fucking degenerates. Like that doesn't require all this extra terminology and all this extra language.
I feel like it does, but
no, it doesn't. It's simple. These things are simple. These things we have entered a very complex scenario, of course, right? And it is difficult to gather, but it can be simplified by stop being degenerate. You can get into loads of arguments about what I'm exactly saying there, but it can be simplified into 3 words. Don't be degenerate. Right?
But I mean, like, you can think of examples like, Goethe, right?
You don't need examples.
Well,
virtue is loyalty to truth and to Theed and to God.
Oh no, I just want to get your opinion on this. So the writer Goethe, a very famous German writer, was against the kind of German degeneracy of drinking and kind of the weakness of the proletariat, and was very much for an idea that with each stage of life you can it comes new challenges, and that an artist shouldn't be someone.
That is an elitist attitude. You cannot apply that to anyone but the highest echelon.
But he was when Germany and France were embattled, he said, I don't want to. I can't be angry at France because of all of like the beautiful art that they've created. And I think there is something to that Goethe, for example, and there are other people of the similar persuasion who are in Europe who are very cultivated people, the most cultivated people.
But that's an aristocratic attitude. That has nothing to do with day-to-day politics.
But I don't think day-to-day politics. I don't think day-to-day politics will be playing a role in what will transform us out of this situation.
You think there's not going to be any tension between Russia and Ukraine, even if there's loads of fucking Muslims? No, those problems are still going to be there. They aren't going to go away. We aren't going to just band together to get rid of Darky. Those problems will still be existent. That's just another fucking problem added to the pile.
But I think the problem is I think you acknowledge this, that we've let it happen to ourselves. What's the term? Great civilizations commit suicide. They don't. I think it's this is, I guess, where our key to our disagreement is. I don't see how day-to-day politics will be playing a role in a better future.
Because England has its interests, Scotland has its interests, France has its interests, Germany has it. Like, this is.
Yeah, but it's interest. You were talking about the top-down thing.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
These interests those interests are lower than the cultivated minority of a country that kind of generate.
Yes, but the cultivated minority isn't a universal. It's approached differently. Like, God is technically a universal, but God isn't realized religiously in exactly the same ways. You have.
I don't see why there is a. I would like to understand why your reasoning for saying that, like, that there isn't a way to universalize kind of a hot. I know, right, that they are an exception in themselves, but I think there is some sort of universal aspect to high men of the continent.
Yes, but they are not interchangeable.
No, I don't disagree that they're
Right.
interchangeable, but I think
And this is the problem with my view of European kind of Pan-Europeanism, universal Europeanism, is the fact that it suggests that yes, these things are then interchangeable. It suggests that yes, these things are ultimately the same in what composes them, when that isn't true. If you're going to have an Imperium Europa, it will be based upon something, just like the Roman Empire was based on Italy and the Latin world, and the Holy Roman Empire was based in France and Charlemagne and so forth. And later on in the Middle Ages, you have the Teutonics, Knights Templar, and still you have the influence of Rome. These things have to be accountable. They don't just emerge out of thin air. If there's to be a European imperium, where is the basis for it? Is it going to be an English one? Is it going to be Anglo? Probably not. The English were too far apart from our continental cousins in many ways. Will it be Germanic? Probably not. Germany is fucked. It needs to basically be purged with fire. Nothing else will do it. Could it be Italy or the South? Probably not. The Italians are too complacent. Could it be somewhere in France? Maybe. But in which shape will these forces take form? These forces can take form. They can manifest. They manifest historically. They can do it again. But it's the form which matters, which is why I want to get out of this wishy-washy hypothetical area and into actuality, where these things are contained within their vessels and contained within actual people and legislatures and institutions and countries. An empire composes many countries. Right? The Umayyad Caliphate, for example, engulfed many different countries and many different groups: Christians, Jews, Druze, etc. It didn't force itself upon them in a totalitarian way. It collected the jizya and pronounced dimitude, etc. But it composed all these different groups, but they retained their individuality. And yet, it was a Muslim empire, and that was a Middle Eastern construct, even though it extended into North Africa. So every empire has its temporal heart somewhere, and this obviously corresponds to its actual political realization. Where would this be in this hypothetical white imperium? No one knows, and there is no answer, because these things cannot be guessed. And this is this is the root of my dissatisfaction with this sort of line of questioning, because it's just so wishy-washy and abstract.
Well, I'll tell you where the praxis of what I'm talking about comes into view. Is I see the role of us, this type of community, as a community that has to ask of people who are of
where are they from? What is their
greater
religion?
potential in our own communities. I'm not saying to be better and to be occupied with their history. I know people going to Ivy League schools, the most potential people of my own community who know nothing of what is to be lost in a multicultural society, because they've never read foundational literature. They don't know. They know rap music and bad 90s rock music. They know nothing of culture. They only know of their dissatisfaction. And I think
Which culture? You're looking at through a very strongly American lens. I'm sorry.
No, I don't deny that I'm looking through an American lens. I think that's all I can.
I know.
do.
Okay. I'm just saying, but there's a lack of specification here. With Rome, with the Roman Empire, the emperor was a Roman. Okay, you had some Romans who were born in other places, but they spoke Latin, and they
They spoke Greek.
They spoke Greek in the.
They spoke Greek pretty much until I think the Golden Age of Latin, and then that became the.
But they had their language, and Greek was seen as a holy language, right?
Well, they very much were occupied with taking what was the best from ancient Greek and putting that into Latin. I don't know how clear the origins of Latin are, but that's for another. I'm a little autistic when it comes to.
This force, this Roman Empire, it had its language, it had its religion, its cults, which later became Christianity. I mean, it had its particular temporal form based upon a certain civilization and a certain people, which then extended its grasp out onto the Gauls, onto the Germanics, and so on.
I think the essence of our disagreement is that I think I think your view sees what makes individual tribes and peoples individual as more delicate than it is. I think. I mean, I'm not saying that is actually how you feel, but I think it's more robust than that. And then I think then you see my view as kind of
Wishy-washy,
an impossibility almost.
universalized. You're speaking in universalized abstract principles which aren't being found manifest in any physical form, and that's
Well, I'll put it in a metaphor. I know I don't want to. We can switch to something after this, but I think it's universalized when you a fact that you need good soil and you need good sun. Like you need water. Like I think that is we've gotten so weak that the raw fundamentals of what requires something to flourish
yeah,
are completely.
yeah. We know
Uh,
this,
no, I agree, but I think it can't be overcome. I don't think it can
but
be overcome by
different
the individual
groups
threads
do
of
it
different groups.
differently. But the different groups do it differently. They don't do it all in the same way. They might approach the same thing, but they do it in their own different ways. And it is this differentiation between European groups which I don't think you're considering. And that's why there is a lack of actual form. So what you're saying, you're speaking of abstract principles, not of things found manifest. And that's, again, this is when you get into these sorts of conversations, especially with hardened white nationalists. It is all abstract. It is all guesswork, all hypothetical. They can never point to anything in history which actually even mirrors what they're talking about, um, unless they go to like, an Enlightenment age man of letters, which is a leftist construct and exists within leftism and modernity.
Well, you could point to. Sorry, I just want to interject quickly. Similarly, as you were talking about caliphates before, grand civilizational forces such as that, which unite and can even ignite the passions of not just the main group doing it. In the Crusades, for instance, it was usually the Mediterraneans as the main group, and it was Islam, Mohammedans, Turks in the case of the Ottoman Empire, sort of initiating the charge of these sort of grand civilizational forces. But groups on the periphery, for instance, that were once warring with each other, would unite. Like, for instance, the Poles had a conflict, I believe, with the I think they were the Teutonic Knights or something, and they united to fight off the Jews and the Muslims of the caliphates encroaching. So the cases in which people do put aside their differences, I think that those are two that throughout those Middle Age periods are ones. But if you're looking at pagan instances, I'm not sure of instances of pagan collaboration against things like
There
that.
is very little. There are very few instances of pagan collaboration. There are some when Caesar sought to attack the Gauls, and you had one particular pagan leader. I can't remember his name. He rounded up several tribes and tried to resist Caesar. He failed.
Well, you have the Spartans and the Athenians against the Parisians.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the thing that I think about the most, because I do try to consider, I'm not that well addressed on any type of literature or history beyond the Greeks at this moment. I'd like to be. I'm not trying to avoid it. But is that the poet Pindar was considered kind of this unifier of Hellas in art, because he was such a master of the language, and it was very important to the Greeks. Not the only importance, but one of the greatest importance to the Greeks of their identity was their language. And I I see that as and I'm not. There is a transcendental aspect to Greek literature, obviously. Like Hesiod thanks the Muses in the beginning of his theogony. So I'm not because I know you're bringing up that it is an essential part is the kind of transcendental aspect of art. But I do know that Pindar, I think, was criticized in his time for not being very divine. He was very more. He was more
But what are we speaking about
occupied
then?
with the athletes.
We're speaking about Greek pagans against Greek pagans. What we're dealing with now is secular Europe against Islam, which is a politicized monotheism. Were there any instances in history where pagans actually resisted Islam?
Well, I don't know if there was any.
No, Ed, can you think of any instances in history where pagans resisted Islam? Or
Well, I think the time frame of it made it a bit difficult. Europe was mostly the parts of Europe touching the Islamic world were largely Christianized by then. So
Yeah.
I can't think of any instances
what
outside
about
of
in
that.
the East?
I'm sure some pagan history expert, maybe Tom, would be able to help us out with this.
Yeah. What about in the East? What about countries like Kazakhstan?
Hold on. Here, paganism versus Islam. Well, actually, I do believe that Sikhs and Hindus both united. I'm not sure if Sikhs would consider themselves pagans or Hindus, but they did both unite. As practitioners of indigenous religions, whatever, against the exogenous Islam coming in from the West.
Adam, I meant to ask you, aren't Sikhs kind of perennialists?
Yeah. Well, Sikhs and Hindus are perennialists. Yeah, they draw from the same Indo-Aryan thread.
But I think I don't know about Hindus, but I believe Sikhs in a lot of their texts will pull from other religious texts. Like they'll quote the Bible and Jewish and.
I'm not sure about Sikhs. The Hindus have the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and so on and so forth. We can look to Frithjof Schuon, Ananda Kumara Swami for.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Ananda Kumara Swami, Frithjof Schuon, and others who explained that especially Rene Guénon actually in his introduction to the study of Hindu doctrines, spoke of the Hindu position on perennialism. Oh, actually, Hindu is really the most well-preserved Aryan tradition that there is, which is why we use terms like Yuga very often, Kali Yuga, because these ideas are found very clearly manifest through that tradition. But back to the point, the right now regarding Europe, only Christian monotheism can save Europe. A revitalized Christendom. If there is to be an Imperium Europa, it's going to be under Christ. And I don't know where the hub for this is going to be. Maybe it'll be in the East. Maybe it'll be from Eastern Europe. Maybe the Slavs will save us after all. Gates of Vienna 2.0. We'll see. With the Magyars, maybe we'll get the horses in the wings again.
Yeah, exactly. Was it not the Poles who stepped in under Jan Sobieski, I believe it was, during that battle against the, I forget which particular Islamic force it was.
I can't remember either. It wasn't the Umayyad Caliphate. That was in 700 with Tours, as Charles Martel. This was later on. But yeah.
So incredible. I'm drinking. I'm drinking white tea with mango passion flower and holy basil. Apparently, I'm not sure what holy basil is. I'm not sure if it's like haram or halal to drink this, but it's quite nice.
Interesting. Visario says Adam sounds like common filth now. How do I sound like common filth? Yeah, it was the Ottoman Empire with the Slavs.
Oh yeah. What can I say? I should have known. The Ottoman Empire was huge. So many different fronts, so many different periods.
I mean, it's hard to know them all.
Yeah.
I haven't even really delved into it personally.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh shit.
Like usual.
Oh, well,
I just make it.
sorry.
Everything I say is I make it up as I go along. It's not real. It's all a ruse. It's been a social experiment for 2 years.
Adam Wallace is a leftist.
Yeah.
Adam T. Leftist.
Yeah, this is part of his immersion acting class. For he's taking over Daniel Radcliffe's role in that new film about racist neo-Nazi white supremacists.
Oh shit, you're on to me.
It's gonna be the UK version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh god, Daniel Radcliffe.
Well, you're gonna
Here.
be in the BNP, and they're gonna be planning an attack.
What's the name of that film? Do you know it?
No, Imperium. That was it. Imperium.
Yeah, that's the one.
Mm. It's a dog whistle.
Yeah. Oh, Daniel Radcliffe. What a shame.
Oh yeah, he's a British export, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you miss him? Do you want him back?
No, you can fucking have him. Throw him down on me.
I
Well,
think
I
I
mean,
actually have to go to take a train.
Oh, fair enough,
No.
dude.
You're buffling off just as I come on.
Well, I'm taking a train to see you, so
Oh, son of a bitch! So quickly. See, that's bizarre. I didn't know that Buffalo was you.
yeah.
Oh shit! Oops.
What's the oops?
I don't know. Like you'll be here soon. You'll be here. In oh my god. In like
I'll
a
be
few
there
hours.
in
Sweet.
what? I'll
Yeah,
be
2
there.
o'clock. 2:15 is when I'm free. Come
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hour. Oh, Adam left, so now we can talk
Yeah.
about
Bye, Adam.
Pan-Europeanism.
All right. See, Pan-Europeanism is yeah.
It's a grand
It's like the mods are gone post Pan-Europeanism. See, I don't care either way as far as Pan-Europeanism or non-Pan-Europeanism. Like it's just not my issue. I mean, I assume Europeans who are particularly into their own regional identity aren't that into Pan-Europeanism. Will exist, but it will be a pragmatic thing probably, or I mean, it will be either in the form of trade deals or a military alliance rather than a significant cultural thing. And I think that's probably the way it should be.
I think. No, I won't be too early if you're worrying about that. I just. It's like 2.5 hours.
So, yeah, stop talking about it. By the way, Adam's back.
Oh, he's back now. Are we gonna get spanked?
Adam, are you there, lad?
I see his mic's muted.
Yeah.
So I guess we get some extra time talking about atheistic pan-Europeanism, communist takeover.
I just dropped my phone. Sorry.
Uh-oh. Well, Adam is a actual communist. That's who he really is. This is just his character. But the true Adam is a post-Marxist German. Oh, well, either this call's dead, or I'm the only one who can speak. I think it'll take a few minutes. Maybe this call will have to be restarted. Are you there, Ed or Adam?
Shit, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you hanging like that. Oops. Oh God. The people watching this stream are like, "Oh damn, this isn't what we signed up for." Yeah. Okay. So let's make this interesting. Anyway, what do you think of the RNC? Adam's probably gonna get mad at me for starting like a random topic while he's gone. But what were your thoughts on that?
I actually didn't watch much of it. I feel like I'm kind of done with the election. The only things that I caught were I don't know if you saw, Melissa, or was it Michelle? Who's the woman who?
Fields.
Michelle Fields. Yeah, her boyfriend pushing Chuck Johnson, assaulting Chuck Johnson after he went to ask Michelle a question. Was pretty funny. There's a deep irony in that. And then also Alex Jones crashing.
Oh yeah. We covered this a bit in the first Hangout. What are your thoughts on that?
I
mean, he hardly crashed it. He more or less came on stage in a friendly manner, and Anna started screaming at him like a hysterical madwoman.
I don't know if you've seen the InfoWars full video, which I think was taken down, but they actually were told to come on by a producer from the Young Turks.
Yeah, exactly. So they were set up for it.
But Alex Jones, I think, is just outrageously funny. He's nearly a performer. I don't really care what he says. I think he just he really has mastered the art of media to a level that I don't think I've seen anyone else hit it. I honestly, I know he has some good things to say, towards our direction, but I do actually truly see him as a performer. He's I really admire his ability to kind of create a scene in this media context that's so outrageous. Oh, Adam's back. Hello.
Hello. I have no idea what we're talking about.
We were talking about Marxism. Why it's going to take over Europe. No, we weren't. You looked really upset about that.
No.
No, we weren't.
I'm being accused, I think, in the comments of saying that it's the same difference between England and Russia as England and China. No, of course not. There's a reason we can say the word Europe. There are commonalities between European nations, but these commonalities aren't as such that they are all the same thing, or interchangeable, or as the same as some people seem to believe, especially Americans. But whatever. Just repeating myself.
We were talking about we just I think I just chimed in a little bit on the Pan-European thing and said it'll exist in some extent too in economics and things like that. And
yeah, there are political blocks.
And then we spoke about a little bit about the RNC, and I mentioned.
Yeah, me and Ed spoke about that earlier.
Alex Jones, incredible performance of the year, I think.
I need to watch the video.
I really do have to go though. Good talking to Adam. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to open.
It's been real nice.
It's good to disagree.
Sure.
Right, but civilly, and we're still friends.
Yeah.
This is fine. It's good.
I hope so. You did. I think you did. You changed my mind to.
Yeah.
About it.
And I'm glad there's no misunderstanding. It's fine. It's no worries, man.
I don't want to get bullied by the comments.
It's good to disagree, but not with Adam Wallace.
I only bully death worshippers. That's okay. Everyone else you can't. It's no bully zone apart from that.
Okay. As long as you promise no bully zone, then
I
I'll
promise
go.
No bully.
Bye. See you soon, Ed.
Yeah, man.
Take care, man.
Okay.
I can't believe you would mute a death worshipper.
I wouldn't even mute them. I would just. I don't even let them in.
Ban them from commenting.
I ban them from commenting. No. Evil bastards. Evil. But yeah, that's cool. I like John. His poetry is nice. I've asked him if he wants to submit more poetry to West Coast Reactionaries that it's longer, which I think is fair enough because his poetry is really nice. It's just like 40-word poems, as concise and lovely as they are, and interesting. it's kind of weird to have 40-word poems alongside 3,000-word articles. Like, extend it, spend more time on each one, add more to it, expand it, flesh it out. But yeah, his poetry can be found on West Coast Reactionaries / author / Pilads if people are curious. Based Mercian. I don't know if anyone in England who feels a connection with Europeans. I feel it's difficult to describe. I don't feel an immediate kinship with Germans, French, and people just because they're white. However, I understand and recognize that there are similar threads we draw from. Christendom. I am, as a Saxon, Germanic, or if I have Celtic ancestry, I'm within a very Germanic culture, and that has formed me, and therefore I do have similarities with a German. I'm closer to a German than I am to a Swede or to a Spaniard, for example. There are these things, these similarities that exist. Like, again, there's a reason you can say Europe. There's a reason you can say Christianity and Europa. These words exist to describe these things. But yeah, we aren't interchangeable. The modern culturalist individual is interchangeable. Your metropolitan millennial working in Paris is the same as your metropolitan millennial working in Berlin or London. They just speak different languages. Aside from that, they're going to be roughly the same sort of individual. And that is a shame, but that's modernism. That isn't the inherent sameness of European countries to one another, far from it. That's simply the leveling character of modernity and of capitalism and materialism and nihilism. That's what these things do to people. They break down differences. They break down hierarchy and different structures and render everything the same. And that's the enemy, ultimately. That's part of the problem. That's part of liberalism, and that's part of this moral and spiritual weakness which is so enveloping Europe right now, and not just Europe, but the broader world in many areas. So there you go. What do you think of Arianism in the spiritual, not racial sense? Jack asks. And Arianism, you spell that as in Germanic Arianism, not Arianism in the Christian sense. So I don't think you're speaking about Christian Arianism. I'm not aware of it. What you're speaking about there, I would assume it has something to do with the perennial tradition and that sort of realm of things, but I'm not aware of it.
I assume it would be pertinent to the Proto-Indo-European culture, the religion they practiced, etc., trying to find commonalities between cultures that derive from Proto-Indo-European stock, etc. Hello, is this still live? What's going on? Where's Adam? All right, sorry about this. I'm sort of dialing in from my phone here, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on, to be honest.
It's going on. Can you hear me? Oh shit, Ed isn't even here anymore. That's weird. Right, I think people can hear me. That's weird. What the hell's going on? Yeah, okay. Imperial says, yeah, Aryanism in the sense that all Europeans have a common spiritual heritage which is more important than shared DNA. Yeah, I suppose, but again, the religion of the early Germanics is different to the religion of the Latins. Yeah, there are all these differences. You had the Iceni tribe, for example, which were different to, fuck's sake, what was the one in Dumnonia or something? The ones in Devon, where I am. They were Celtic tribes, if you used to use it as an example. They had technically the same religion, but they didn't. They had different practices. They had slightly different beliefs. So just the idea, the trouble with all these modern approaches to these older religions is they often you tend to standardize them into a kind of one size fits all. Instead of this people in this tribe thinking in this specific way, compared to this tribe 10 miles west, which think similarly but slightly differently, these sorts of differences just can't be contextualized in the modern world. It's difficult to contextualize them. Also because the structures which existed in society to perpetuate these things no longer exist. Druids, for example. In the real sense, not just someone said, "Oh, I'm a druid. I've read this book. That means I'm a druid." No, but authentic, an authentic spiritual tradition which has remained intact for millennia. The trouble with this is that the clearest Aryan tradition that still exists, as I said, is the Hindu tradition, which is not Germanic. There are parallels, and I think it's why we have perennialism. There are parallels between the older faiths of these people and the other people, and they converge and they all come from the same source. But they were contextualized differently in different ways. And if you would go right back to the original source of where these things come from, it's just not possible because it doesn't exist. These things were often kept orally. And so, therefore, the traditions have totally disappeared. And we have remnants and fragments, but a complete religiosity cannot be reconstructed.
You can
Modernity
only
doesn't
say
facilitate it.
what's similar. You can only
Yeah.
say, well, there are similarities here and here. So we know that this was a common thread between both, and thus it's safe to assume that this is of the original belief system.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a good endeavor to try and find out these things and understand them and research them and study them and know about them. But it's just not. It can never be done. It's not the fact that one has to go back to it. I think is an indicator of it being somewhat inauthentic, and especially to the point where we are going back to something where there is just so little which remains. We could go back to Christianity. We know about the entire history of Christianity. We know we have the past 2,000 years rather well documented. We can go back to the faith, and it still exists. With some pagan, in some areas in East Europe, for example, paganism was still being practiced into the 1400s. So we have a good understanding of it, and those people who live there can interact with that tradition because it's still there. It's still in their cultural memory to a degree. And also in other parts of Europe, we have pagan traditions. Aside from Christmas, right? We have other little bits and pieces which have remained. But to form a complete religious picture is impossible just because of how much has changed. We can deal with what we have. We have to deal with what we have. If we're speaking on an individual basis regarding an elite, they can pretty much do what they like. But a religion exists not for the elite. A religion exists for the masses. Metaphysics exists for the elite. Religion exists for the masses, and there needs to be stronger forces in play to have the masses return to a religion, which aren't yet present, at least in the West. To have a mass return to religion, or at least a growing return instead of a diminishing of religion, as what is presently occurring. There are simply not forces in play yet which would facilitate such a thing. And I say yet, it can and will happen. Jack says the point is that what is common, regardless of tribe, within the race as a whole, is more objective and essential to the nature of that greater people. Well, no, because you're describing the same thing. The materialist would speak of genetics, the spiritualist or proper man would speak of a spiritual dimension. Ah, fuck. This is where we get into the racial question, because race in its proper meaning is three-dimensional. It isn't just about genetics. To be of a race is to also be of a religiosity, of a culture, of a type, which is also manifest in the blood, but is also manifest in the soul. Ah, 4 o'clock, and all is, well, it's a little cloudier now. But it's still a nice breeze. It's still very warm, but I'm quite relaxed, all things considered. And I don't think Britain's connection to Europe is superficial. No, I don't think it. I think it's superficial. I think it is genuine, and it is important. But a Pan-Europeanism would place too much emphasis upon that, and place too little emphasis upon its own individuality, or it doesn't. It doesn't seem to anticipate it. Pan-Europeanists seem they don't seem to take into account how much Europeans differ from each other, nation per nation. They believe that can be. It's not even a question which needs to be asked. It can just be ignored, and we can all come together as one anyway. The only system under which all these differences can subsist is under a religious system, when they have at least something in common which actually transcends the temporality or their temporality. Is it immoral to race mix with a Hungarian, Adam? I wouldn't. Simple as that. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't feel any commonality. Obviously, there are similarities with both European, but it just wouldn't happen. What's the likelihood of it happening? It's non-existent. Adam, who is worse, May or Khan? Theresa May or Sadiq Khan? Oh dear. That's a really difficult one. May is British technically, but she's a woman, and her politics are also rather trash. And Khan is a Muslim. I'm gonna have to say Khan is worse because he's a Muslim, because he isn't British. A poisoned English woman can be corrected. It can be. That's a problem which can be solved. A foreign occupation is different.
Adam, what if it was Saida Warsi or Yasmin Brown?
I have no idea who those people are.
Baroness Warsi. She's an Islamic member of the Conservative Party.
There should not be a single Muslim in any position of influence in England. Simple as that. Have you ever looked into fascism? Yeah, a bit, but it's too. It just doesn't appeal to me. It's too modern. It's too materialistic. It's too mechanical in a way.
And I think that there's a degree of intentionality to that. I mean, look at fascism came about largely slightly after, but very much intellectually alongside the artistic movement of futurism, which idealized the mechanical and the new and sort of industrial revolution. It was progressive in some ways, although it also idolized the dynamic and the masculine and the hard as opposed to the soft. It also had a progressive tinge to it in the way you're talking about.
Yeah. But no, I've read Mosley's 100 Questions, for example, and other bits and pieces, but the coarser elements of these phenomena, they turn me off, I suppose. Which European nation would die out first? I'm tempted to say, die out. I don't think any of them will truly die out, in truth.
It's nearly impossible to completely expunge indigenous people in their homeland. It takes a lot of concentrated effort from usually an empire.
Yeah, exactly. Give it 100 years, if all of the Muslims in Europe unify under a single banner and then declare holy war upon all the non-believers, then you could see Sweden as fucked, as France as fucked. Otherwise, you're dealing with fragmented faggotry, fragmented nonsense, which is only a problem because the indigenous themselves are so pussied.
I would say France is probably my prime candidate, considering
France is going to be the first
popular.
Where the first proper happening is going to go down, it will be France. In the next 5 years, I believe that the majority of the fighting age men in France will be Muslim. At least in Paris, I believe it will be in the next 5 to 10 years. When you have demographic shifts like that, woo lad, that's a recipe for something wrong and something dangerous. Am I familiar with the work of Guillaume Fay? Not really. He's a continental. He's a nationalist. I don't concern myself with nationalists, typically speaking. I'm just not interested. I'm not drawn to it. It doesn't interest me enough. It doesn't speak to me. It's modernism. It has a bit of vigor and a bit of energy, but it's still rooted in materialistic terminology and paradigms. Therefore, maybe that's a flaw, because I instinctively kind of turn my nose up. What isn't modern? Most things prior to the French Revolution or Enlightenment. And Ed's disappeared. But what characterizes modernity? An interesting quantity over quality. Mathematics. An obsession with number and of mass. What do the masses think? What do they think? Yeah, what's the biggest, you know? It's an attitude, it isn't really a thing. It's a shift in collective consciousness in a way. Isn't nationalism a pre-modern idea? No. Nationalism emerged with the French Revolution. Loyalty to theism, tribalism, no. Nationalism isn't. People use the word nationalism as a synonym for tribalism or collectivism. That's fine, but I see it in terms of an actual political system.
People use it to mean what I usually say ethnarchism for.
Yeah. I say theism. Loyalty to your family, that's pretty much all it means. But nationalism, with a capital N, is a political ideology which arose in juxtaposition to monarchism. Which is why I would reject it. It isn't extreme enough. You're still then playing with modern paradigms and materialistic premises. And that isn't enough, in my opinion. But then again, I don't bother with trying to deal with how a society should function. Because I have no influence over that. I can't fucking control that. So it's kind of irrelevant. My sensibility is classical, natural, organic, aristocratic. Is the Renaissance modern? Yes. Humanism is modern. This is why National Socialism is a modern. It's a humanistic ideology. It is anthropocentric, and that's its flaw. Honestly, lads, it's 4:15. I've been streaming for fucking hours now. I'm kind of feeling I want to shut up and have a cup of tea. Oh, wow. Actually, I think we've got some going here. So I'll be right back.
All right.
I could be a short while, actually, so I'm going to leave the stream there. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I might restart things in a minute, might not. See you in a minute.